I'm Tara Hounsley, I'm Director of Communications at UKFT. I'm delighted to be joined by some really interesting UK textile businesses who are really combining heritage, craft and sustainability with modern innovation. Emily, do you want to tell us a bit about you and Alex Begg?
Hello everyone, my name's Emily White and I am Chief Innovation Officer at Alex Begg Group. There are 3 strands to our business. We have a cashmere weaving facility in the west coast of Scotland. We don't only weave cashmere, we also do other natural fibres, but we are operating at the luxury end of the market, so we pride ourselves on making the most beautiful product. We also have a knitting mill in the Scottish borders, that is Scotland Charters, where we make garments of a similar quality. And both of those facilities produce for global luxury brands whose names I can't share, but who you've all heard of, as well as our own direct-to-consumer brand, which is Begg & Co.
Thanks. Simon, you're a bit of a different business.
How do, as they say up north. Yeah, I'm very new to all of this, so please bear with me. I'm surrounded by people with many, many years, hundreds of years of experience in this industry. We're brand new. What we're doing is we're trying to bring cotton production into the 21st century, that is growing cotton, and we're innovating around vertical farming. We're growing in the UK, and we're getting to the point of being ready to scale up. So that's us in a nutshell, really. New to industry, growing cotton.
Thank you. And Haldy, tell us about British Wool.
So British Wool is a sheep farmers cooperative in UK that's been going for 75 years. It's fully owned and funded by the UK sheep farmers, and the role of the organisation is to collect the wool from the 30,000 sheep farmers that we have in UK, grade every fleece by hand for its individual merit and look at the quality, and then sell the wool on behalf of the sheep farmers to the international market.
Thank you. Let's start by understanding how each of your organisations approaches innovation within a traditional industry.
So for us, I think a lot of the time people think that there needs to be some kind of trade-off between heritage and tradition and craftsmanship and modern innovation, but we very much think that those 2 things complement each other. If I can just paint a picture of when we were first established in 1866, we were producing beautiful paisley shawls to wrap around the shoulders of ladies as they drove around in their horse-drawn carriages. And there's not too much demand for that these days. So, and I think the technologies that we were using in those days were innovative, they were new, but they have gone on to become the craft and the heritage that we now rely on. And it's important that we continue to innovate because these are the things that are going to become the crafts of the future. So we're looking to redefine what that looks like.
Simon, go on.
Me? Yeah. So as I said earlier, we come at it from a very different perspective. If I can just give you a little bit of the background without being too boring, I hope. My other business is architecture, and 8 years ago I was involved with leading a major project in the UAE, which was about developing food security through vertical farming. And it was kind of during that process where I was having epiphany after epiphany. I couldn't believe it. All the things that you learned at school about photosynthesis and all of that stuff, right? It was amazing to really be reintroduced to that with a bit of a more mature head, I suppose. And it was just evident with all the research that we were doing that farming really needs to change. The resources, the inputs, everything that's happening in the field is being added to continuously because it's continuously becoming more difficult to farm effectively in field. The solution is bringing it indoors and actually growing on industrial estates, especially those things I would suggest that maybe we don't put in our mouths. You know, food security is a big deal. The planet, the population, it's growing. You know, we're getting towards 10 billion people by 2050. The land that is being used to grow on is in high demand, you know, 3 times demand. We're talking about aviation fuel, for goodness sake now, right? Growing it in a field. Let's grow the food there, and let's bring those things that we don't eat indoors onto industrial estates and add all the benefits that vertical farming brings to it in terms of scope 3. Tick, all of it done. Greenhouse gas emissions, none of it. You know, we consume carbon dioxide. Water use, between 7 and 29,000 litres per kilo of lint in field becomes 0.75 litres. Things like this. So it's with that driving motivation that we thought we need to try and do this. So we started laboratory level at the University of Nottingham, in fact. Yeah, sorry about that. And it's going extremely well. There's work to do, but we're at the point of scale up now. So we're scaling up the R&D facility on campus. And that facility is probably going to produce, in the first year, about 50,000 kilos of usable lint. And we want somebody to help us use it. By year 3, on the same footprint, we should be up to about 150,000 kilos, 150 tons. So on the global scale of cotton production, it's minuscule. But in terms of the potential for the future in scalability, it could be everything, and that's the journey we're embarking on.
Thanks. And Haldy, tell me a bit about how British Wool is approaching innovation.
So for us, it's critical. In 1950, when British Wool as an organisation was set up, the equivalent financial return to a UK sheep farmer was £12 a kilo for their wool. And today it's about 40 pence a kilo. So we really have two approaches, and one of them is looking at totally new markets, working with private businesses, academic partners. Our friends from University of Huddersfield are here that we've been working with, as is University of Leeds. So looking at new markets where wool has never been used before. But there's challenges in that market because a lot of wool performance is same, it doesn't matter where it comes from. For us, innovation only works if we can prove premium performance on British wool being used specifically, or where that origin story of it being local adds marketing value at the end product. And the other part of innovation for us really, and probably more important, is looking at the fiber that we have now. How can we process it differently to make it more relevant for the modern needs? We have a real challenge in the UK where we have put British wool fibre into a box and just assumed that it's a carpet fibre, it's too coarse, we can't use it in apparel or in knitwear. If it is available in apparel, it tends to be really heavy gauge knitwear yarn, or it tends to be really coarse apparel yarn. Yet the fibre that we grow in UK is the most diverse wool clip in the world. We have silky fibres, we have soft fibres, and we have lost that innovation and of trialing and trying to push the boundaries of what we actually can do with our local wool. So for us, it's all about developing the existing fibres for traditional uses, but pushing the boundaries of how soft and how fine we can go.
Thank you. Emily, you've been reimagining your new product development process. Tell me a bit about that and how that works.
We have. So when I joined the business 10 years ago, our typical sample lead time was 6 weeks. And today, a lot of the brands that we're working with are demanding 2. So that gives us a challenge. How do we cut our sampling lead time by 2/3? And that includes the design process, the structure of the warp, the preparation of the loom, the production of the fabrics, the finishing, and everything. So there's a lot of processes to fit into that timeline. So we have a cross-functional team of stakeholders, technical leads from around the business who meet regularly to talk about our bespoke products. Our design studio works closely with production to ensure that the things that are coming out of the studio are designed with production in mind. And we find that actually having these having different tiered approaches to different developments allows us to prioritize and hit those 2-week deadlines, which are crucial if we're going to be a player in the luxury field.
And this is something that you're wanting to explore with other companies in the industry as well, isn't it? The new development.
Yeah, it certainly is, because we've done a lot of work to improve our process. We're very pleased with the progress that we've made, but for sure, we still encounter barriers and there's a lot of challenges. I think a lot of traditional NPD processes are aimed at longer timelines and perhaps more engineering type projects, and we need something that's really quick and agile. So we're keen to collaborate with others in the industry And we've been working with UKFT on trying to organise a roundtable event so that we can all collaborate and share some good ideas.
Yeah, so if anyone's interested, find one of us with the coral lanyards and or find us in one of the breaks. To all of you really, but in a historically siloed industry, how do you foster that collaboration across R&D, design and manufacturing? I think this might be a good one for you, Simon.
I'll have a go. I'm new to the sector, but working in silos is prevalent in many industries, and many of the other things that we've been doing historically have had to deal with silos. And the truth is, it just doesn't work as well as it should, right? It's not as efficient as it ought to be. There's always that moment of handoff into another silo where there's just something in the translation that might get missed. Now, how that works within this sector, we have some, I guess, limited first-hand experience recently of a bit of a thing that we did of converting some of our cotton into a garment, and we put it on the catwalk at London Fashion Week. And the journey to do that was an eye-opener, unbelievable. And we spoke to a number of people in this room about helping us, but the timing that we'd got was it was outrageous, like 4 weeks from harvest to catwalk. And we managed to do it. It was a one-off garment, no big deal perhaps, but we feel it was quite a significant thing in that it's
That's the first one.
the first UK-grown cotton to ever be a garment. It's quite a historic moment, right? Unless somebody wants to correct me, we believe that's the case, right? So working in silos wasn't really going to be able to make that happen. It needed a lot of translation along that very short production line. It was spinning, it was weaving, and it was CMT. But it was working with the designer, determining what we were going to do, then working backwards, if you like, offering our service, limited knowledge though it is at the moment, but this is part of what we hope to develop in the business, was me going back down that production line saying, okay, what do you need to know? What do you need to do? Right, she wants to do this. How do we do it? What do you need? Okay, and getting right back down to the yarn itself and getting it spun to the right specification. Within that time frame, maybe limiting the quality of it, but actually, the final output was an absolutely beautiful piece of work and a really lovely piece of textile as well, so I'm told by those that know.
And it was at Fashion Week at the weekend, basically.
It was, yeah,
So,
Sunday, yeah. Camden as a catwalk or whatever.
do you
Really
want
cool.
to tell us the brand?
Oh, yeah, sorry, I should do. House of Tamam, Lucy. It's funny, actually, it was a SIFIN event where I first met her, where she overheard me saying that we were growing cotton at the university. And she said, oh, it's very interesting. What are you doing with it? And I said, well, we'll try and get a T-shirt made and we'll hold it up and go, hey, look what we've done. And she said, no, you bloody won't. I'm going to put it on a catwalk. And from there, it was a mission for her as much as it was for us, really. So, yeah, really wonderful collaboration.
And Haldy, tell us a bit about how you work with designers and how that all...
So for us, that's really one of our strengths, as we represent 30,000 sheep farmers, and we work with the supply chain partners that actually purchase British wool, and we verify from the brand's perspective the final products that are made with British wool with the Shepherd's Crook Mark logo. We know everybody in a supply chain, so our role really is to pull everybody together around one table and make those connections and put some of that pride back into the fiber that the farmer is producing, because so often they think because of the financial return that the fiber is no good. And the reality is it's just that the market doesn't demand the British origin for it, and there's nothing wrong with that fiber. So we are facilitating that. That's one of our strengths when it comes to British wool. And what I would like to say, what was said at the first section this morning as well, which is really encouraging to see, is some of these conversations that we're seeing now with the brands where they're coming to British wool, not just wanting to take a small volume of British wool for one season where they can exploit the British wool message in their products, but brands that are coming to us really wanting to build a meaningful relationship with the communities and looking to commit to wool from year to year and increasing that volume. And not just buy the wool, but understand the full effect that purchasing that wool has in the community, the biodiversity, which just is incredibly positive. And as a quick example to this, we are very proud this year for the second time to host a wool exchange at the Central St. Martin's, together with Central St. Martin's, where we are physically pushing the apparel industry together with students, farmers, established brands, emerging brands, everybody from a small knitter in Leicester to a massive, biggest spinner in the world, where they're all coming together and talking about their role and the challenges that we have on using British wool in the apparel industry.
Simon, your indoor grown cotton uses 95% less water than conventional cotton. How scalable is this, and what hurdles exist for sort of broader adoption?
Yeah, it's actually more than 95. We've just been doing the engineering on it, so we're 99 point something percent. So. It's crazy. Yeah, we thought it might be. It's kind of an industry standard between 90 to 95. But specifically with cotton, we're finding that it's a lot more water efficient than that. And that's all to do with the type of plant that cotton is and the way that it photosynthesizes and evaporates. The beauty of it is that within our completely enclosed system, our box, which has no daylight, by the way, and works with LEDs, we can recirculate all of that water that's given off as evaporation, right? So that's the real uptick of the amount of water that we don't use. In field, it evaporates away to the atmosphere. So they have to keep pouring the water in there, even with these advanced methods. Drip irrigation is wonderful. It's a big advancement that the guys this morning were talking about. It's superb. But really, the pinnacle of that lack of water usage is when you take the crop indoors and start using LEDs and the like. Now, the thing about that design, therefore, makes the whole thing eminently scalable. The intention as a business is to take the world, right? Obviously, you're going to have big intentions. We want to try and make a really significant difference, alluding back to what I said earlier about the needs and land resource and what have you. Let's bring all the cotton indoors. We've got a field that's the size of Germany, and we only need less than 1% of that land use or that land size to produce the equivalent volume that's being grown globally. I know we're not going to do that. I know it's a heck of a journey. Generation after generation, I hope. But we really do need to be seen to be doing something as quickly as we can to reverse the climate crisis.
Thanks. Emily, how is BEG incorporating new fibres or finishes or materials into your collections?
So we have had a particular focus recently on the durability, end of life, the full journey of our products. We want our products to be heirlooms. They are a beautiful quality and they're something that can be handed down. And so we care about the quality of the product whilst it's in its original form, but also what happens to it after that and what else could it become. So that's been something that we've been exploring. We're also interested in changing the performance of the traditional fibres that we're working with. So exploring whether that's at raw material level or whether that's at finishing, seeing what we can achieve with that. But we've also had some interaction with British wool. What we would really like to do is to also celebrate some of the older fibres, perhaps some of the more forgotten breeds that could be brought back to market. That still have a relevance and have interesting properties in their own right.
Hal, did you want to pick up on that? No, but I think that's the thing, isn't it? We're sort of talking today a lot about innovation, but innovation can be in existing things. There's a whole remit of what we're talking about. To all of you, how can brands, manufacturers and consumers sort of work together? How do you see that picture coming together and what needs to be? What needs to happen?
After someone else.
I can go first. When it comes to British wool, it's about, I guess, having the courage to ask the question and not assume that you know the answer. The worst thing that is crippling our industry when it comes to British wool now is that there's so many stereotypes around our wool quality. People think that that's what it's good for. I worked for British wool for 10 years, and I have so many stories where a 6th generation spinner in Yorkshire calls our head office and goes, yes, we know we know the answer, but by any chance, do you have any wool that is suitable for apparel to spin a yarn? We're like, yeah, 10 million kilos. Which type do you want? But they've never, the amount of pushing and inquiries that spinner must have had before they picked up that phone, they just assumed it's not suitable for them. So really, to ask the questions and not to be From a consumer perspective, from a brand's perspective, do not be misled by vague labeling. The industry is full of claims like spun in Yorkshire, woven in Wales, knitted in Scotland, 100% pure new wool, and it's very easy because of the history that we have in wool production in UK and the amount of sheep that we see everywhere to just assume that it must be local wool. And 99.9% of the time they're not. It's only British wool if it carries a Shepherd's Crook mark logo, which verifies the origin back to UK sheep farmers. So our challenge really and our ask is not to just assume, but to challenge those origin stories on wool and to ask for local sheep farmers' wool.
But thank you very much to our panel, and thank you for all of the this session. It's been really interesting. Thanks.